Okay, today's lesson or discussion will be on the wheat and tare. In Matthew 13, Jesus spoke parables to a multitude of people. And if you go and read this chapter, what you'll notice is that a lot of his parables relate to seed sowing and reaping. Jesus spoke the parables because, as he stated, the multitudes did not have revelation or an understanding of who Jacob and Esau is. So because they did not understand that, he spoke to them in parables. And it's important we understand the seed parables that Jesus spoke in chapter 13, because Jesus' parables began with explaining what happens when the word of God or his seed that he sows doesn't fall on good soil. He talked and gave 3 examples of seed sowing. The first seed was it fell by the wayside. The second seed, it fell on stone. And the third seed, it fell on thorns. And the last seed, it fell on good soil. And we're going to go through some of those seeds. So in Matthew's chapter 13, of course, verse 9, it reads, "When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understand it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catch away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside." That seed that falls down, and basically, just like in the illustration, the bird will come and just take it away. That would be what the enemy does. God sows a seed, the bird comes and takes it away. This person that the Bible is speaking of, it heard the word of God and did not understand it, because the word that they heard, it doesn't go along with what they think the world is. And a lot of times that's the problems we have in this world. We hear the word of God, but the word of God doesn't fit us because it doesn't fit into the world that we created for ourselves. So in situations like this, the enemy just comes and catch away the word of God. The other seed that Jesus spoke about in verse 20, "But he that received the seed into stony places, the same as he that heareth the word and annoyed with joy receive it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when the tribulation or persecution arise, because the word, by and by he's offended." Now this person has a little bit of a warmer heart than the previous person we talked about. And this person heard the word of God and rejoiced. But once hard times came in the world, he soon turned his back on God because the word wasn't rooted. And I can imagine a person like this doesn't want to do bad things, but will do them if he's tempted. For example, he doesn't want to drink, but he'll drink if his friends keep pushing him to drink, because he doesn't have the word rooted inside of him to say no to the enemy. So let's go on to the other seed that Jesus was speaking about in his parable, chapter 22. It reads, "He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he become unfruitful." I think that most people that hear the word of God are in this stage. This person heard the word, but didn't want to let go of the things of the world. He enjoyed worldly things, such as the worldly music. He enjoyed the love of all money, which we know is the root of all evil. And he enjoyed other things in this world. So the world kept him back from receiving the word of God. And 1 John 2:15 says, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. Because if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him." Verse 23, the other seed. "But he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. This person heard the word of God and believed it and asked questions like, "What must I do to be saved?" Someone who hears the word of God should instantly be pricked in their heart and say, "What must I do to be saved?" This person follows God and is filled with the Spirit and possesses the fruits of the Spirit, as it talks in Galatians chapter 5. That would be the person that Jesus is saying, if you receive the word of God, this is the spirit that you should have. This is the conviction you should have in your heart. So now that you understand the different types of seeds when you hear the word of God, I want to ask yourself, what do you say to yourself when you hear the word of God? How do you apply that to your life? Do you just let it fall by the wayside? Do you just take that word and eat that word and let it be rooted in you? I want to talk about the wheat and the tare. The wheat and the tare in chapter 13 starts in verse 24. It's another parable that Jesus spoke. He went forth unto them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which soweth good seed in the field. And then in this illustration, you see a father sowing fruit in the field and teaching his offspring how to continue God's work. God's work is so important, is about seed sowing. Now, meanwhile, let's talk in verse 25. The verse says, meanwhile, but while the man slept, his enemy came, sowed tares among the wheat, and he went away, just like the devil. That is exactly what the devil does. It comes, it sows a little seed, and then he's out of there. So, but don't worry about that, because sometimes that will happen. The enemy will come and sow something into what God is planning, but God has a plan, and that's what's important to understand. Next verse, and I'm going to paraphrase verse 26 to 28. So the household servants saw the tares. They saw that they grew a little bit with the wheats. And then the household said the servant said to the household, didn't you grow good seed? Because if you grew good seed, what is this? We see tares growing. What should we do? And the household said that the enemy has done this. Verse 29 says, but he said, nay, the servant says, should we pull this up? Verse 29 says, the household servant said, nay, least while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. And we know God will not destroy a field or a world if his children are in it. Remember the story about Abraham and Lot. And when Lot was in the Sodom and Gomorrah, what did Abraham say when he found out that Sodom and Gomorrah was going to be destroyed? Abraham said, the Lord, will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? God will always deliver his children from destruction, as he did with Lot and his family. He has a plan to separate the wheat from the tare. Now, verse 30 is important. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them. That was what the household said to his servants. Don't pull up the tares, but let them grow together, because wheat and tare, they grow so close together that it's impossible. If you pull up a tare, you're going to pull up a wheat. And there is a process of going through this where you have to involve both of them just so you can get the grain of wheat out of this. So the best thing to do is let them grow together. And then when that time of harvest comes, the reapers going to come and they'll take care of it. Again, God will not risk destroying his seed. The Bible makes it clear that tares will be burned and the wheats will be saved. So what will the wheats have? Verse 30 says, but gather the wheat into my barn. You see that? Obviously, there's two groups of people here. You have wheats and you have tares. And both groups of people, they have an end. One is you're going to be burned in the fire. That's for the tares. The wheat is gather the wheat into my barn. John 14 verse 3 says, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye be also. So God is saying, yeah, gather up my people, bring them into my barn, my house, because where I am, that's where I want my people to be. He has a plan for the wheat and the tare. So verse 37 is really important. So remember, during this time, Jesus sent the multitude away. Okay. And when he sent the multitude away, he gave revelations of the wheat and tare to his disciples. Because not everyone is going to receive this revelation. And in the beginning of the chapter 13, like I said, Jesus said, I spoke in parables, because they have an ear they don't hear. All right. So what did he say? Chapter 13, Jesus said to his disciples, he answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. As I stated, it's so important that we sow seed. That's what the kingdom is really about, sowing seed. Also, chapter 38 starts with some really important facts. Verse 38 says, the field is the world. Okay, so remember, we're breaking down what the wheat and tare is, okay? The field is the world, and that's verse 38. Verse 38 continues to say, the good seed are the children of kingdom, of the children of the kingdom. So the field is the world. Chapter 38 goes on to say the good seed are the children of the kingdom. And then at the end of verse 38, it says, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. This is making it plain. We know who the tares are. The tares are the children of the wicked one. So Matthew verse 39, the enemy that soweth them is the devil. This is summing this up for you. The enemy that soweth them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. 40 goes, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this time. As we stated in verse 30, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them. So God is making this plain. He's telling you the enemy is the ones that sowed those tares, and the harvest is the world, and the reapers are his angels. His angels are coming to burn the tares and root up the wheat and give the wheat and send the wheat and put them in God's house. So I'm going to sum, what does all this mean? What does the wheat and tare mean? 2nd Ezra verse 6, 7 through 8. I'm going to read that to you. The word of the Lord, it came to Ezra during those days. Verse 7 goes, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Verse 8 said, and he said unto me, from Adam unto Isaac, from Jacob and Esau were born of him. Jacob's hand held first to the heel of Esau. Verse 9, very important. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. That is what sums up the wheat and the tare. We have the wheat, which is Jacob, and we have the tare, which is Esau. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, which we're not in the part where it followeth. We're in the part where Esau is the ending of the world. Jacob is the 12 tribes. In case you're wondering, who's Jacob and who's Esau? Jacob is the 12 tribes of Israel. Esau is everyone else. Romans 9, verse 13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. There's no way of getting around how God feels about Jacob and how God feels about Esau. And when we talk about Jacob and Esau, we're not just talking about a person. We're talking about two nations. There were two nations that were in the womb at that same time. And that was the nation of Jacob, which are the 12 tribes, and Esau. And God has said it. Romans 9, 13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. That sums up this discussion about the wheat and the tare. Thanks for listening.